Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to continue with our blog project series. In this episode, we're going to be looking at cleaning up our projects, and I've highlighted what we need to do in order to achieve this aim. So the first one is to format the time information, and this is actually into two places. We have the one to implement the time information on the tag menu and generally format the time information. And if we come back to our projects, here is what I'm talking about. So as you can see here, all we have here is just the time zone information, which is not very readable. Then for the tab menu, all we have here is what we've outputted and not the active current day. Okay, so that's for that. Then also we're going to be implementing the logo so that once we click on the logo, we get back to the home page. We currently do not have that. Then finally, we are going to be implementing a back arrow for our single block page. And the reason why we would need this is, for instance, if we are filtering our blogs with the text tag and we go to continue reading, and from there we access the single block page, the only way to get back to the former page is by using the back arrow here, which would not be available on all devices. Technically it's going to be there, but it's not going to be quite visually available. However, if we have a back arrow here, then it's going to be quite intuitive as to what it's doing and get us back to the page we are coming from. Okay, so by this time, if we have the not Brits, or rather if we have the logo implemented, this will only take us to the home page. All right, so that's something to note. With all that said, I think it makes sense to start from the easiest to the hardest, and according to my estimate here, implementing the link logo would be the easiest to do. So yeah, without any further ado, let's drag this to Drain and move on to our code to implement this. So here is our VS Code and everything looks tidied up. And if we come back to our app, to the layout and down to the header, we can find the brand information here. And all we need to do is just turn this to a link. And now that this is a link, we can provide our href information. And we can just include the base parts, and that will be the home page part. And that's all we need to do here. So if we go back to our browser and refresh, and we see that this is showing that it's a link. Yeah, this seems to be working. However, we don't want that color, and we can easily control that by coming back into here and locate our brand, come back to the style, locate the brand class. Then here we want to change the color to something blackish. So let's add black and just adjust it a little bit. So somewhere around here should be good. And if we come back, now we have that color. Now we can click here and we'll get back to the home page. And with that, we are done with the first part of our cleanup. So the second part, according to my estimate, is going to be formatting the time information. And we are going to implement a function such that we'll be able to use it across board. Okay, so again, we'll come back to our code. Within our utils folder, I'm going to create a new function file, and I'm going to name this function file format date. So this is going to take an optional parameter, and the whole idea of the parameter is such that we are building this based on what we have on our project. So currently we only have two forms of dates. We have the one where we showcase the current day information, and we have the one where we just format the information coming from our server. So based on that, we can have an optional parameter for this condition. And I'll call this date UTC, because that's what we are expecting from the server. And it's going to be optional, and it's going to be of type string. So now the consideration for this is going to be based on the date UTC. So if the date UTC exists, then we want to create our date based off of that. However, if it doesn't exist, then we just want to get the current date. Okay, so here we can have const active date equals to new date into UTC, and we actually want to make a check here. So if the date UTC exists, then this is what we want to have. However, if it doesn't exist, then we just want to have the new date. And this is going to be a situation where we are trying to format the information on our tag menu. So before we proceed, there are other informations I thought I should share. So if we come back to our design, if we check the information here, we'll find out that our month information here is quite different from the one here. And technically, we can kind of agree on a specific format. We can decide to go on the full route, which we have here, or we can go on the short route, which we have here. But just to showcase that we can actually implement both, we are going to go on the route of implementing both here, and we'll see how we can do that. So on that note, we are going to have two kinds of month array. So we are going to have the month full, or full month, whichever you want to call it. Alright, so here is the list of the full months, and that's just what it looks like. Then also we can define an array for the short months, and I'll call this month shorts. Again, here is the list for the month shorts. Also, we still have one more array to define before we proceed to the other parts of the function, and that will be the day array. So as we can see here, we're also trying to get a day information. In this case, we have Sunday. So based on that, we're also going to have one more array for our dates. And by the way, it's in full. So we have to type it out in full. Alright, so now we have all the array information we need. Now we can start getting the data we need. We'll start with the date itself. And the date in this case is going to be the date value, which is 17. Okay, so in this case 17, we can have different day value. So here we can have const dates. Yeah, and I'll call it just dates. And that's going to be the active dates dot get dates. And that's what we need to get that. Then we can proceed to the other, and in this case we are going to get the month information. However, the month information can be of two forms. It can be either the full month or the short month. And we'll be using the short month when we are dealing with the tag menu information, then the full month for our blog information. So based on that, we can make the check. So month, we can have it as date UTC. So if date UTC exists, then we want to use the full month. So we can have this as month full. Then we have active dates into get months. Else we have month short, then active dates into get month. Okay, that's for the months. Then const the day, and we can use the days into active dates dot get day. Then finally for the year, we can have the active dates dot get full year, like that. And that's all the information we need here. So finally, we can return an object containing all this information. So we have the dates, we have the months, we have the day, and we have the year. So here's the function we are going to need to be able to achieve our date format requirements. So finally, we need to export this so that we can use it other places. And this is not format data, but format dates. Alright, so we have the function up and running. Now we can go back to our tag menu, as we can see here, and implement this. So generally, the way we would want to implement it is to call the function within here, somewhere here, and kind of format our information. However, if we are doing that, as we can see from the structure here, we'll find out that we are going to be doing that on the server side, which is not what we want. We want to do this on the client side. So as a result of that, we are going to extract the information here into a separate component and label that component use client. So that's going to be a client component. So let's quickly structure out that. And I'll call this tag menu date, like that. And I'll quickly coin up the structure. So in here, we can place what we are going to be showing. And what we want to show here is just this. So we are going to extract that and paste here. Then finally, we can export this just like that. And coming back to the tag menu, we can just include this here. So coming back here, all we need to do is to tag this use client. So we are telling it that this is a client component. Okay, I think we've used this already, so we should be familiar with that. So in here, we want to make a call to our format date function and get the objects associated with it. So const the objects, we are going to deconstruct it here. I'll call the format date like that. So since we are working with the tab menu, we don't need to provide any parameter. We're going to get our current day information. So here we're going to have the dates, we're going to have the months, we're going to have the day and the year, like that. And this place we're going to have the day. Then here we're going to format it into how we want it within a string representation. So in here we're going to have this as the date, then this the month, then this the year. Alright, so let's take a look at what we have as our result. So as we can see here, we have Monday, 19 June 2023, which seems to be working because that's current date. So I want to give us a quick task that's quite new. However, what I wanted to do is to pause the video now and try to implement for this and see what it's going to look like. Bear in mind that this is the structure expected for that. So yeah, take note of that.
A few moments later.
Alright, welcome back. I believe we've implemented it, and if we've not, we can just walk through it together. So to implement that, we can come back to our block card, which is where we are going to first access before moving to the special card. And since the block card is just a client component, we are using it within the client side. So having the function call here will be quite easy. So we can just come back here and copy the structure here and paste within our block card. So the difference here is that we are going to be providing the created args as our parameter because that's what we are formatting. And also we need to import this function. So we import it. Yeah, now we have all the information we need. Also, we need to format this information. So we can just come here and copy this structure, come back to our block card and paste here. So in this case, we are not going to need the day, so we can remove that. And also the month comes forward in this case. So we bring the month forward, then we remove it from here. Okay. So that's the implementation for the block card, and it will be the same for the special card and the comment as well as the single block page. So let's quickly take a look at this. Now we have the structure for the block card. So let's implement for the special card and the other ones. So you now just copy this because it's going to be the same thing for the special card. Paste here. Import the package or component in this case. Then come back to the block card, get the format. Come back to the special card, place the format. Okay, we'll copy this again. Then we come to the single slot page or single block page, and we proceed to the single block contents. Again, we call this function, we get the components. Then back to the special card, we copy the format structure and we replace here. Alright, again we'll copy this, and now we want to implement for our comments. So if we come back to this page, we access the single block comments, and we want to proceed to the comment card. Okay, now we paste the function again, we import our components. Then this is going to change from block to comments because this time around we are working with the comments. Then finally, we are going to get our structure again. We copy it, and we replace this with it. And with that, we are going to have our comments. So let's take a look at our design. And as you can see, we have everything formatted here, everything formatted here. And if we continue reading, we'll find out that the comment itself is formatted just like we need it to be. So now we are done with theory of our cleanups, and finally we can have our back arrow here. So to implement that, we are going to have a separate component so that it's more tidied up. So in here, I'm just going to create a new component for my back arrow. And again, I'm quickly going to clean up the structure. So for my back arrow, I'll be using a chevron icon, and we can quickly go back to our browser to browse this out using the React Icons kit. So here we can search for back, and we look for a back arrow. So yeah, here is one. We can copy this, and we can paste it here. So let's try to import this. Quick fix. So it seems we can't automatically import it. So let's try importing it manually. So import this from React Icons /io. So technically this is meant to be an IO, but we have two versions. And this particular icon is not within the default IO, but within the IO 5. So it's something you should look out for. So we can now copy and paste this here because that's what we are importing. And that's the structure we need there. So this is just the structure and no functionality. Let's quickly add the functionality for that. We want to use router for this. And here we can have const. We can deconstruct it. And we have use router. However, we have two versions of use router for Nest. We have the regular use router and we have the one within the navigation. And in this case, we are using the one within navigation. So that's something to note. So if we check here, we'll find out that we are using the one from router. We want to change this to navigation. And also we want to mark this as a client component because the operation this back arrow will be performing is on the client side and not the server side. So again, we have this as use clients. And this is one of the reasons why we are actually having this as a separate component, okay? So that it doesn't entangle any other thing. So within here, we're going to have the back function like that. Then here, we can just have the onClick and bind the back function to it like that. So yeah, that's the structure for our back arrow. Finally, we can export it. Export default back arrow like that. Now, if we come back to our single block page here, so we'll go into the content side and place it above the top here. So we are going to have the back arrow here like that. So let's see how this works. So here's our back arrow here. And if we click here, we'll get back to where we are coming from. Okay. And where we are coming from is the home page. So now if we click on the text and we click on continue reading. Okay. I can't see any back arrow. That is weird. Now it came up. Yeah, I guess because I've not really refreshed the page, that's why that is happening. So let's restart this. Let's go back to the home page. Let's click on text and let's click continue reading. Yeah, now the back arrow is showing. So I assume it was because I didn't refresh the page and it didn't really check that out. So now if I click on the back arrow, I get back to the tech page, which is what I want. So that's the major functionality of the back arrow. It takes us to where we are coming from, so we don't have to lose our way. All right. So all we have to do to the back arrow now is just style it up, and now quickly do that. All right. So here's the style contest, and you can easily check it out to see what it entails. And the result of this is going to be, yeah, let's come back here and click on this. So here's the result for this, and I think it looks cool. However, we can kind of reduce the shade for this. Yeah, that's going to be personal preference, and I think I'm okay with this. And now we can click on this and we'll get back to where we are coming from. And everything looks good. It looks like we have completed the cleanup. So coming back to our Trello board, we can drag this to done because we are done with all that. So another task we are going to be looking at is the mobile responsiveness. And this is quite important considering the kind of project we are building. It's a blog project. So if you are sharing your blogs, most people will likely view from their mobile. So it's always okay to have the mobile responsive ready as well. So I'm going to be looking at that in our next episode. And also I'm looking at a situation where we are going to have lots of blog. And as such, we need pagination. So I'll leave that for a future tutorial. So for now, we're going to have this list completed. And if we have time in the future, and if there's requests for that, then we can work on those. So guys, if you enjoyed this series, if you enjoyed this episode in particular, kindly leave a thumbs up and share a comment with us. That way you give me a sense that you're actually following what we are doing, okay? So remember in your school days, when the teachers complete their tutoring, they usually tend to ask any question and they get pissed when you don't have any question. And that's because the assumption is that you really are not following with what they are teaching. So you asking questions kind of gives them the impression that you're actually following what is going on and you get a grasp of it. So yeah, I would recommend you drop comments on what could be improved, on what questions you have, on how we can better serve the channel. So guys, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.